Next, we're going to refine the arms in our character. So what we're going to do is we're going to insert 2 edge loops down the front and back of my arms. We'll go ahead and delete the faces for my wrist here. And we're going to go ahead and kind of refine the blockiness of my arm here. The best way to do that is to grab the blocky corners here of the elbow and just scale them in. Boom, cylindrical shape already. Do the same thing here for our wrist. Scale it in from the center. And now we actually have something that looks like an arm now. So we're going to double check the way that our elbow edge loop is sitting. It's very important that we kind of nail this rotation here because it's going to set up the edge flow for the rest of the arm. So we'll go to the top now. And what we're really just trying to do is get a nice transition of these faces right here. See how it kind of just flows nicely and there's no huge twists. So something that would look bad would be a twist like that. You don't want something like that. All right. And I think I'm going to twist this down just a little bit. Perfect. All right, so now that our arms are actually starting to look a little cylindrical, I'm going to just come up here and refine the shape of my armpit area a little bit more. Maybe bring in these verts. Kind of to evenly distribute the geometry around the arm. It's best to do that now whenever there's very few polygons. The more polygons and vertices you have to deal with, the worse it gets. All right, perfect. Next, we're going to insert some edge loops down our arm because obviously we don't want just these huge long faces. So we're going to insert 3 edge loops between the shoulder and the elbow, right down that bicep, and then 3 from the elbow to the wrist, like so. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of the direction of these loops here. So I'm actually going to maybe look at the forearm kind of straight on like this. And instead of my insert mesh or insert edge loop tool, I'm going to grab my multi-cut tool and I'm just going to slice one right there, one right there. Left click outside and drag across. That way we can get a little bit better edge flow. And now our smoothing will help this out, but I think I see the main problem. Why don't we back up? I think if we rotated, let's look directly down and use our yellow rotation axis. Let's line this up a little bit better on our wrist. And I think that rotation that we just made and positioning it, I think our edges will look a little bit better when we use an insert edge. Yep, still a little bit. So we're going to grab this edge loop here. And I think the problem is we kind of need to, oh, that's what it is. So these vertices should kind of follow the direction of our elbow. So I'm going to go right above the elbow. And that's what we're really looking for, something like that. See how it follows? And then now when we insert our edge loops, we'll get something that follows the topology a little bit better. Nice. Now we're going to refine our abdomen, and that's going to be a pretty easy process. All we're going to do is we're going to insert one more edge loop right here. So this is going to kind of be our pelvis region. It looks like I've lost my object X symmetry. I'll just turn it off for now. We're going to do a mirror duplicate in a second anyway, so don't get too torn up about it. So we'll do an edge loop on I like to work on the left side of the body. And then we will flatten all of our vertices. I might as well do an edge loop on this side so it looks somewhat symmetrical. I'm not worried if it's actually symmetrical at this point. That symmetry tool works until it doesn't. So, gotta love that. And so we'll flatten this down. That way we can clearly see that we have a leg here. And I'm going to go ahead and delete that. That'll be a leg hole for us. Well, actually, you know what? Yeah, we'll delete it. All right. And then we'll delete this one. And now you can see I have two faces for my crotch region and then holes for my leg to extrude out of. We're going to come up now and just go to a front view and maybe start placing our verts. So our leg kind of starts up here. Kind of does something like that. All right. So now we have our leg hole ready to go. We've got our pelvis made. Not too bad. Why don't we refine the leg holes here? So I'm going to scale these in. Maybe a little too much. And then scale these in. Maybe a little too much. Now we have somewhat of a cylindrical shape working for our leg. All right. Now we're going to insert 5 edge loops up the torso horizontally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we have some geometry to play with, and we're going to use this chance now to go ahead and do a manual mirror duplication. I lost my symmetry, and I want to use my sculpting tool. So select your edge loop down here, then deselect the neck hole. And we're going to use the scale tool to just scale it so it makes sure scale it in one direction so it's flat. And then we'll snap that to the center grid. Perfect. We need to reset our transformations, so we'll freeze them and reset. So we get our pivot point at the center of the grid. And now we'll just do a -1x scale, mesh combine, select your verts, do a merge with a low tolerance. And now we have a completely symmetrical mesh again, which will help because now we're going to grab our smooth tool once more. Let's make sure that our symmetry is set to object X. We'll make our brush a little bit bigger, and we'll just start smoothing out our torso here. Now we're really starting to get to a more human form. Try not to mess too far down, and don't worry too much about, suggesting muscle groups and all that. We really just want to kind of get to a nice organic shape like so.